Vincent van Gogh was an amazingly creative and emotional artist who was far ahead of his time. The first great Dutch painter since the 17th century, Vincent van Gogh did not start out an artist. He worked for art dealers in The Hague, London, and Paris. He was a language teacher in England, and an evangelist in Brussels, and a missionary to coal miners in Belgium. His great love for humanity led him to these careers, but he dealt with bouts of depression as well. Van Gogh was insecure and emotional and even admitted himself to sanitariums for rest. When he was 27, he began painting. Van Gogh spent most of his painting years in France. He had few friends and devoted himself fully to his painting. He was not insane, but passionate and relentlessly productive. "My work absorbs me completely," he said in April 1888. Within a 10-year period, he created over 800 paintings, over 2,000 drawings, and around 1,300 watercolors and prints. His style that most have come to know consists of bright colors. His paintings were textured with thick, vigorous strokes. His subject matter almost always included portraits and self-portraits, flowers and cypress trees, landscapes and still lifes.
So my eye immediately goes to the structure of the painting, the way in which he's created the architecture of the face, his use of the line. I look at the way in which the brushstrokes wrap around and sort of cascade around the eye and down the nose. And it's almost like a river of paint as it flows across that face and begins to define it. But then it's not just brushwork at all. It's the ways in which structure is actually built by color.
Yeah, which I think was something that Cézanne was also thinking about, creating volume with color instead of in the usual way with chiaroscuro. But that the pinks and the purples that are in his temple and the way those modulate over to greens is like nothing I've ever seen.
So he's treating the structure of his face, of his head, of his skull, very much as if it was a kind of plastic medium. He writes about this portrait that he's created eyes almost as if he was Japanese, a reference to his love of East Asian painting.
His complex personality can be better understood by reading the letters between himself and his brother Theo. There are over 600 letters saved. Theo supported Vincent financially and emotionally. As an art dealer in Paris, he sold Vincent's only painting during his short life. Eventually, due to factors such as alcoholism, mental illness, feeling like a burden to his brother and a failure in life, unable to sell any paintings, Vincent took his own life at the age of 37. Vincent was very much influenced by the Impressionists, and his paintings brightened, his brush strokes became visible. He was also inspired by Japanese prints that showed him how to use spatial relationships in more interesting ways, as we'll see in the next painting, The Harvest.
It's a large painting that is seen all at once. The pull of its space and its color is powerful, and I've seen how it can command a gallery of other wonderful Van Goghs. From a rocky hill slope, as he put it, we survey a vista that begins with a climbing path that crosses the bottom of the painting. He called the foreground wild and romantic, and it is dense, full of objects and quiet activity, continuing up to and a little above the center horizontal division of the canvas. Parched golden foliage stretches across the bottom along a fence, then a row of dark green bushes that give weight, a foundation, to the lower half of the painting. A huge haystack anchors the left side of the picture. At the center of the painting, he placed a large empty cart, dividing foreground from distance, with its spoked wheel acting as a hub for the whole canvas. An important color accent of two bright red wheels with a single pole is midway between that central cart and the right side. From here, as Vincent described it, the distant perspective wide and still, with horizontal lines sloping into the chain of the Alps. This contrast is very striking, he wrote to Theo. That wide plain, as painted by Vincent, begins with a light yellow-green field, a new color note, running from the haystack to the center and pointing our eye to the striking white side of a farm storage structure for corn or other grain, an essential building block in the painting. The distant landscape opens in a series of crossing diagonals and separate fields of color precisely placed. Two low buildings with apricot-colored roofs make a strong diagonal thrust to the left toward the town of Crow in the distance with its square tower. From there, the low, pale gray-blue alpine chain starts its move across the horizon, and above that, the turquoise sky caps a painting that began in gold and dark green. The balance, the articulation of the painting is supreme in composition, line, and color. The sun, so often seen in his paintings, is not seen here, but it's felt everywhere.